The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. You know, man, I really need to try to get back to getting an episode out on Mondays. My bad. But, God, most of the time, Sundays, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm like exercising like a beast. I try to be outside as much as I can over the weekends, especially with the good weather. I hope all of you do the same. Continue to get your steps in. Continue to take your health seriously. But yeah, by the time the day rolls around, man, it just gets challenging recording on a Sunday night. So anyway, I'll try to pick that back up. But did want to talk a few specific things today. And first of all, the Olympics came to an end. I am glad that my prediction was completely wrong and that nothing bad took place. Thank God. That was nice. But, you know, overall, very enjoyable Olympics. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot out of the track and field. The swimming was great. There was some funny stuff. I don't know if you guys saw breakdancing was like an Olympic sport this year. I don't know if that's the first time or not, but man, there was actually some incredible breakdancing. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed by this one gal from Australia who definitely seemed to lie on her resume, as they say, because, man, it was not very good, but it was hilarious, and it's led to a ton of super funny stuff on the internet about it. But anyway, I didn't really watch the closing ceremonies, to be honest. I mean, it looks like there was no real controversy. Tom Cruise was involved. They handed the torch to Los Angeles. So LA is going to get the 2028 games. You know, it's interesting. They're already starting to plan for that. And honestly, this is probably the best thing that could happen to the city of Los Angeles, because as I've talked a lot about this on the podcast, and it predicated literally my moving out of Los Angeles, was that it just went so downhill during and then post-COVID that I think the next 4 years is going to be spent really cleaning the city up in a big way, and probably, you know, finishing some much needed infrastructure programs. And one of the big ones is having the metro rail go all the way to LAX, which is, you know, it's incredible to think Los Angeles, as vast of a city that it is, it really doesn't have a great public transportation system. I mean, that's why it's a car town, as everybody says. And obviously there's the song Nobody Walks in LA. And yeah, overall, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like Los Angeles definitely needs an upgrade in infrastructure. And that's what happens when the Olympics come to a city. And, you know, it happened in Paris. It happened in Barcelona. It happened, quite frankly, in London. It happened in every city. So I think that's going to be good. I think they're already taking steps to clean up the homeless encampment issue. Gavin Newsom's finally really hardcore hunkering down on that. So anyway, I think that is a benefit for the city of Los Angeles. So we'll see what happens over the next 4 years. Okay, I did want to kind of jump into just a few different things. I want to start off by playing this clip for you, because I've talked about narratives and the creation of narratives and, you know, really the role of the media in our lives, you know, quite a bit over this entire podcast. And again, this applies to both sides. You know, I did have a very interesting conversation with a good friend of mine over the weekend, and he's a hardcore Democrat. I mean, big time liberal, and obviously supports, you know, the Harris-Walz ticket in a big way. And the conversation happened after I had posted this on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram page. And then he called me and he said, hey, you know, I just wanted to tell you, like, it is pretty interesting. He's like, I always agree with everything in every hole you poke on the Republican side, for sure. He's like, but I can't say I've always agreed with all the holes you poke on the Democrat side. He's like, but for some reason, this video that you posted, which is like a culmination of various things, he's like, I don't know, it just resonated with me, and it actually makes sense in terms of what you're saying with I guess the best way to think about it is the collective way to create a narrative. So let me play this for you.
Thank you for bringing back the joy. She does it all with a sense of joy. Compassionate, careful, joyous leader.
And yesterday, what you saw is joy.
And it was the power of joy.
You know what I love more than anything? The joy. You can't underestimate the power of joy in this campaign. Don't underestimate the joy factor of this. They're going to bring the joy.
People were also just feeling relieved and telling me about how happy they were to see some joy back in the party.
And what we saw last night was this joy and this positivity. You have this happy, joyful, positive ticket.
The most remarkable demonstration of support, enthusiasm, joy.
This idea of joy.
All right, let me jump in real quick. Obviously, the narrative being created for the Harris-Walz campaign is joy. You know, they're going to make joy. It's actually pretty interesting. Obama, back when he ran, I think it was hope that he talked about. And I'm going to try and go back and get a culmination of those clips as well. But, you know, this is a playbook. This is absolutely a playbook. And so, you know, they take a concept and they all get behind it. And so obviously you heard from Tim Walz at the beginning. You might be able to recognize some of the voices in there. The one at the end there was Nancy Pelosi. But there is a uniform and cohesive message that is getting spread, and that is the message of joy. Here's some more.
Joy.
Being joyful is part of the American identity.
There is joy in the future. There is joy in having your boss be a black woman.
Really quick, that was ridiculous. There is joy in having your boss be a black woman. That to me is like a insecure white racist. I mean, there is joy in having a black woman as a boss, but there's joy in having a white woman as a boss, a black man, a white man. You know, like, why do you take it there?
There is joy in what is coming.
What we're hearing from this vice president, future president, is a message of freedom and joy.
I just love that we have this new joy.
You could see it just so filled with the joy of the work.
The fact that we saw that exuberance last night, that joy.
One is hope and joy, and the other is fear and anger.
Oh, you could really see joy and exuberance versus grievance and retribution.
People are tired of fear and anger, and so they're going to give to them the hope and the joy.
All right, so just pay attention. See if you start to notice joy in the messaging that's coming out from the various news outlets that you're watching, or the candidate, obviously, and everything else. See if you notice it. It'll be interesting to see if this kind of ramps up, and I have a feeling that it will ramp up. So anyway, I did want to start by sharing that. And again, this is, let me make sure. And I'm only saying this because this is how I truly feel, and this is fact. Like, this is not me picking on the Harris-Walz campaign, or when I talk about something related to Trump or calling J.D. Vance a plant. It's not me picking on them, and it's not me trying to, pick a side. It's really not. It's calling a spade a spade. I mean, it truly is. It's calling a spade a spade. And again, I hope that is something that you guys are truly taking away from this. I mean, again, when I notice the uniformity of that type of messaging, and again, the funny thing is a lot of this goes back to, some of you might know I started my career at Procter & Gamble, and at P&G, gosh, one of the best things I learned was, the concept of branding and brand management and building a brand and, the cohesiveness of the messaging that comes with a brand. And it's funny, I've carried that skill set, throughout my career, but now into my life. And so when I notice the cohesiveness of messaging, it really resonates with me. And so again, with that joy, that I've really noticed. And I started seeing clip after clip after clip. And then I was like, man, let me cut all these clips together and put it together, because over the past, and again, remember, this has all been over a 2-week period, that the uniformity of this joy message again, it's just impossible to get that many people and that many news outlets, saying the same thing, and especially using a word like that. So obviously, this is a campaign messaging strategy that the Harris Walls campaign, which probably is being championed by Obama. I mean, that's the fact, man. That's the fact. Obama is sitting, that dude is, he's the Wizard of Oz. He is the Wizard of Oz in the Democratic Party. He just is. I think he really is calling all the shots. And like I said, I'll go back and I'll try to find clips from his, I think it was the 2008 campaign where he really ran on the concept of hope. There's a playbook, and they go back and they regurgitate the playbook. So I think joy in 2024 is the hope of 2008. So I'll go back and research that. But again, like I said, over a 2-week period, it's just, to me, it's impossible that you'd have such a cohesive message randomly happen, All right, moving on.
Doctors in Gaza are struggling to cope with new carnage after an Israeli attack killed at least 80 people and wounded dozens of others. It happened at a school-turned-shelter for displaced civilians. Israel says it was a Hamas hideout.
All right, let me jump in here real quick, and then I'll play the rest of it. Anyway, another just indiscriminate bombing when they're claiming, there was a Hamas militants there, and you've got 100 additional, women and children primarily that got killed. If you didn't get a chance to listen to Friday's episode, I brought Elijah Kallenberg back on. He was the young UT Austin student that I did an episode with. Honestly, he's an incredibly impressive kid, and I think he does a really nice job of kind of giving an explanation of what's going on over there. And so obviously one of the things that we talked about on the episode on Friday was, the fact that Netanyahu went to Congress, he came back from Congress, they assassinated a high-level person from Hamas in Iran, they assassinated someone in Lebanon. So they're picking fights. The Israelis are picking fights. And on top of those assassinations, they just bombed another, school that was serving as a refugee camp.
CBS's Ramy Inocencio in Tel Aviv has the latest. Ramy?
Good evening, Adriana. Tonight, Israel is disputing that its bombs could have killed so many people, saying that the military used a small warhead, aerial surveillance, and intelligence for a precision strike.
They dropped a missile on them while they were just praying, cried this woman as she kneeled over a dead child. One victim of so many in one of Gaza's biggest mass killings from an Israeli strike since October 7th. In these plastic bags, the remains of a number of people, about 150 pounds, altogether the weight of one person. In the past week, Israel has bombed at least 4 schools in Gaza City, saying they were harboring terrorists. In today's strike, Gaza's emergency services accused Israel's military of dropping 3 one-ton bombs on the Al Tabin school and its mosque. As displaced people held early morning prayers, their Qurans now covered in blood.
I know a lot of you have a hard time listening to this stuff, and again, trust me, I know, and I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people who are like, no, dude, I appreciate you playing that stuff because it's really the only place I get the news about it. But man, it's heavy and it's difficult to listen to. And I get that. I really do. I understand that. And that's why I think overall, I've tapered back, to a big extent. But also, I'm not a believer in putting your head in the sand and just looking the other way. And I'm just not. And this is humanity we're talking about. So anyway, I hope you can appreciate that, I'm trying to continue to keep you updated with, the things that I think you should know. And this is definitely one of them. Again, especially coming out of the fact that, are they even working toward a ceasefire? Are they even working toward bringing this to an end? I don't think so. I think this war will end when the election happens. So that's my guess. Let me predict that right now. This war is not going to end until the election happens.
But Israel's military said it killed at least 19 militants and claimed it limited civilian casualties by using only small-sized munitions. The IDF provided before and after images that show little damage and little difference, and told CBS News the only section of the mosque that was struck was the men's floor with no women and children.
These guys are such liars. They showed before and after photos. The only area struck was the men's floors. I mean, the level of just absurdity is absurd.
They are liars, 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 said this woman. There were no fighters and no one had arms. We were mostly women. Above all this, the fear an all-out war could break out across the Mideast at any moment. Iran and Hezbollah have vowed retaliation against Israel after their recent high-profile assassinations of well-known leaders. This week, 2 additional U.S. fighter jet squadrons arrived in the region, and U.S. Central Command Chief General Michael Kurilla returned to Israel. For those mourning in Gaza, their focus tonight is on saying goodbye and disbelievingly burying their dead. This old father mourning sons and grandsons now gone, stunned into sadness and silence.
And the White House now says it is deeply concerned about reports of civilian casualties in Gaza, and far too many civilians continue to be killed, Adriana, just as it is trying to get Israel and Hamas back to ceasefire talks urgently set for Thursday.
Remy Inocencio in Tel Aviv, thank you.
All right, anyway. Oh, man. All right. Again, like I said, I want to try and continue to kind of share things that I think are relevant there, because, again, I do think they're going to make a difference in the global nature of what's taking place. And I think it's going to have an impact on the election and, just really what happens moving forward. Again, imagine if we go into a full-blown quote-unquote war between Iran, Hezbollah / Lebanon, and Israel. And the United States is going to get involved in that. And that's going to affect all of us. It really is. That's going to affect all of us. I've played clips from Lieutenant McGregor that talked about how that would affect oil prices. Imagine if gas prices go up $2-3 a gallon. All of that stuff, this stuff is all interrelated. It really is. So anyway, I do appreciate you guys listening to kind of these clips. That clip ended up being a little longer than I thought. And again, moving forward, I'm really going to focus on bringing the relevant stuff so you understand what's going on. But that one was absolutely relevant. And then obviously trying not to overwhelm. So anyway, that's about it. Shorter episode today. We got a good week ahead. I'm going to have a couple guest episodes that probably will launch. The one tomorrow for Wednesday is actually going to be with a really good guy. His name is John J.R. Rennie, and he goes by JR. And we're going to talk all about Christianity and his faith. And, it's really interesting for me to get that perspective from him. And he's a really good guy. And we had a very candid and, honest conversation together. So that'll be on Wednesday. And then there'll probably be another one, later this week. I'll try to get the episode with the Berm Pit podcast guys out. That's another interesting one. But anyway, that's it for today, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever. Call a spade a spade.
Real bad man.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.